because relationships are relationships. People fall out of flavor and favor with people. And I think as well, we have to understand that, you see, we've got a bit of we do have a problem with a generation of people who are this social media kind of, I know this isn't going to sound nice when I say it like this, but social media narcissists. And there is this kind of me, which I like to call generation me. So because that's what they are. And you see, to them, there's a sense of entitlement. And people do feel, and this is no longer restricted to just religious or imams, or this is everywhere, in everything. And they do translate every hurt as abuse. And that's not necessarily the case. So, as in, what I mean by that is, so let's say, you see, let's dumb it down. Let's say your friend doesn't want to be your friend anymore. You can't say he's abusing me. Like if my mate now didn't want to hang out with me anymore, and I call him, I say, hey, bro, come on, man, let's chill. Like, and he starts blanking me, and he doesn't. Now, let's say nothing's happened, but maybe he's just fed up of me, or he just no longer likes my personality. So I say, hey, bro, what's going on? Let's chill out, man. You want to go to the gym? You want to chill out? Doesn't reply to me, and we were good friends, let's say, hypothetically. Now, a couple of times, let's say he just replied, oh, too busy, doesn't really. I would feel hurt. I'll be honest. That's because nazuk mizaj. I'm a sensitive person, man. But I'm being honest, I would feel hurt. But I can't call that abuse. I can't. You see, not every hurt translates as abuse. Like, but now you change that scenario into a different scenario, and people would say, well, that does. So this is what I'm saying. I feel that because we have this, sometimes a generation of people that, I don't know, like they feel a sense of entitlement that if they are hurt on anything, that's abuse. Like, I'm hurt, my feelings are hurt, I'm abused. Like the discussion I said earlier on, like pronouns or anything, like, oh, if you don't, my feelings are hurt. And hurt translates as abuse. So you've abused me. And I think what this does is it belittles the word abuse, because really abuse is an atrocity. And it shouldn't take away from true victims of abuse, because you're putting yourself, this person is a victim of violence and a victim of atrocious attacks and grievous harm and domestic violence and sexual assaults, and oh, my friend doesn't want to be friends with me, and they also want to be in that camp. I went to buy, my local shopkeeper stopped buying those kind of things, but I like those flavored lollipops. There was some famous some woman, a famous, I think, TikToker or something, American, and she went into, I think she's got, I don't know, ridiculous amount of followers, and she went into some, I think, a dessert shop, or it was a cake shop or something, and they didn't have vegan, they didn't have, I think, vegan, not flavor, vegan cakes or whatever it was, desserts. So she threw this huge mega tantrum, and she bust up the shop, threw stuff around, and I'm going to do this, and then did a campaign on her social media to set her K-pop fans on that little business, and actually damaged the business because she had like 1 million or whatever it was followers. So you see this, and I remember I was watching this thing on YouTube about, I've forgotten the lady's name now. I think her name was Demi something, but and so it's crazy. We have a generation of people who have a lot of power all of a sudden. So, and they do have, and I give something to, and I admit that the younger generation do have this vocal concern for humanitarian crises around the world and human rights, and they seem to have that outcry, which is noble and admirable. So they do, they want to condemn racism, they want to condemn, they want to any kind of injustices, but at the same time they're still so young mentally that they like just, this isn't to belittle them, but they're just so immature mentally, and many of them have got a lot of power all of a sudden because they've got ridiculous followings and they've got money, some of them, because social, if you've got 1 million followers that's monetized, you're making an incredible amount of money, and so you've got power and people listen to you, and but then you throw these tantrums and it's where does the world go? Yeah, I don't know, it's interesting times. Let's move on to the next question before people say, why is Mufti why is Mufti picking on generation me? I'm not. I have absolute love. Gio. Power has taken another form through social media. It is true, and you see, it's a double-bladed sword, because it could be a force for good, and it is sometimes a force for good. You see how people's lives are changed. Sometimes I've seen there will be somebody who is homeless and he's talented, and they'll make him go viral and he'll have a successful job, or she will have a successful job and home now, and that's wonderful. And that's the true power that you can see, that we are serving mankind. But then you see this, people throwing a tantrum in a cake shop and canceling the shop. I just clear, my son's friend is a TikToker. He's got a blue tick. Yeah, awesome. No, people can use it for. I do love social media. I'm not against social media in any way, but I do see this. I'm just commenting my thoughts on. It is difficult. I get it. It's difficult because you see, young people as well. It's interesting because historically, and not even that long ago, just decades, a few decades, just even going 2 decades ago and backwards, you see, you went through certain almost phases which were like rites of passage almost. So, as a teenager, you weren't really, I'm not saying this is a good thing, I'm just stating it, you didn't really have a voice. Even as a young person, young adult, you didn't really have a voice, and you usually latched yourself onto some people in some form of almost an apprentice way, maybe a relative, maybe an elder person, and you just did things like that as a kind of like a prospect. Maybe you worked somewhere, you did something, and you kind of got through it until you reached a certain age where now people took you a lot more seriously. But one thing it did do was it taught you to kind of bottle and to contain yourself when things sometimes ain't going as you wish, because even if you did throw a tantrum, nobody would care, and in fact it would just make things worse. So society in that way taught you to handle, or to kind of be able to face, or just contain, just more patient, more. And now you don't need to be patient, because you see, if anything happens, you just go on your phone and tweet it. You say, well, this happened, and it creates in the Twitter sphere. And yeah, so it's interesting, because it's interesting that the internet doesn't forget anything. See, this is another fascinating thing, because I would be terrified at the thought that when I was in my 20s, if my kind of thoughts and the way I would have, maybe, I don't know, my opinions or stuff would have still been online. Oh my God, I would dread that. Thank God none of this existed, because that would just be, it would be like a shadow that would chase me forever. So yeah, okay.